I'm going to take us live. Okay, I'll wait. Okay. Hey, hi everyone. My name is Adewale Adejumo. I am the Chief Growth Officer here at Dropstore. I want to welcome every single person for joining us today for the Dropstore Dropshipping Masterclass. And the reason why we're hosting this today is to celebrate today, which is Ecommerce Day 2021. It is the first time this type of event is being held here in South Africa, and it is to raise a general awareness for e-commerce. So Ecommerce Day is something that is being celebrated by a lot of institution companies that are making softwares for e-commerce around the country. You will find that there's also Gibbs is hosting an event. You consider is also hosting events as well. And I just want to say thank you to every single person that has given us their time today to listen to basically 4 of the top dropshipping specialists in South Africa share the knowledge with every single one of us. How today's going to happen is we will have a talk starting with Sylvester Buti on how to dropship. Sylvester Buti is a South African dropshipping specialist. And then next is we're going to have a talk from Ayanda on how retailers and suppliers use Dropstore to increase their sales. And then finally, we're gonna have a discussion from these 2 very interesting gentlemen to listen to, Jeffery Hancox and Geoffrey Sutcliffe. Hope I didn't butcher their names, on how to build and where to market a dropshipping e-commerce store for sales. With that said, I'm going to hand over to Sylvester to start.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much for that. All right, guys. So just before I get started, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me and see me.
Yeah, buddy, I got you. You're good.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, guys. So like Wale said, my name is Sylvester Buti. I am a coach and a mentor at Dropshipping Academy. It's basically a platform for people that are interested in starting their own e-commerce and dropshipping businesses. All right. So today I have very limited time to talk to you guys about dropshipping, share some really cool tips for you guys, for those of you that want to get started, and some of you that have existing businesses that want to grow their e-commerce businesses. All right. So what I am going to talk about today is the 3 fundamentals of starting a successful e-commerce or a successful online store. All right. So between now and between 2020 and 2021, you know, e-commerce in South Africa has been growing rapidly. Actually, not just in South Africa, but just around the world. And the influence of e-commerce is growing to a point where we now have Ecommerce Day 2021. So there's a huge opportunity in the e-commerce space right now. Myself personally, I've been in this space for about 6 years now. You know, for as long as money has been coming into my pocket, it's been through e-commerce. All right. So this is what I do day in and day out, full time. Okay. So it's absolutely possible for you to actually start your business today and focus on it full time, and you know, get a sustainable living out of it. Okay. So traditionally, when you want to start an e-commerce business, it's very capital intensive, just like any other business out there. I mean, one of the things that you would think about, one of the first things you'll think about is getting a website, an e-commerce website up and running. And if you go on Google right now and just, you know, look for an agency or a web development agency that can do a website for you, You're talking about they're going to give you a quote of approximately 15,000 Rand just to do an e-commerce website for you. That's a lot of money. In the same way, when you want to get started, you're probably going to think about buying stock of the products that you want to sell. In order to do that, you need money. All right. So depending on the scale that you want to do things, you're talking approximately anything from 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. All right. So this is all very capital intensive, and you need storage where you're going to put all of these things. But there are new innovations right now that you can tap into to help you kickstart your e-commerce journey. All right. You don't need to pay 15,000 Rand for an e-commerce website. You don't need 200,000 or 100,000 just to buy stock of the products you want to sell. Right. That's why I want to introduce to you guys a business model called dropshipping. All right. Dropshipping. So for those of you that are not familiar with dropshipping is a retail fulfillment model where an online store owner doesn't keep stock of the goods they sell. Instead, for every time that you receive an order on your website, you are able to forward it directly to your supplier, and the supplier takes the responsibility of fulfilling that product. In other words, they take the responsibility of having the product in stock and dispatching the product and delivering it directly to your customer. All right. So what this means is you don't need to have money. You don't need to have capital or stock to buy products that you want to sell. All right. Your supplier can take 100% responsibility of having these products. All right. So just to get into the three fundamentals that I wanted to talk about, there's actually more to this. Okay. But like I said, I have limited time, and my other colleagues will also talk about some extremely important things that you need to incorporate within your business. All right. So the first fundamental, and I just want to say this: if you are a student to this and you actually want to start your dropshipping business, I would highly recommend that you have a notepad and take notes of what we are talking about. Right. So the first fundamental that I want to talk about is why it is important to have fast shipping. All right. So it is extremely important to have fast shipping for your products. Typically, for people that are interested in dropshipping, when we start doing our research, we go on Google, we look for information over there, we go on YouTube, and what you find is that most of the guys that are over there, they're talking about platforms like AliExpress, dropshipping with AliExpress, and those type of things. And to be quite honest with you, that is an outdated business model. That is an outdated way of doing dropshipping, for the simple fact that just to use AliExpress and shipping your products to South Africa, for example, it takes an extremely long time. It takes a long time. In the same way, whether you're drop shipping internationally, to ship to the US right now through AliExpress takes a very long time. So AliExpress is not an option anymore, okay? AliExpress is not an option anymore. And ultimately, if you have long shipping times, you're going to find that you're going to have extremely unhappy customers, okay? So it is important that
sorry,
you have.
guys, may I ask everyone to please keep their microphone on mute? I'm sorry about that, Sylvester.
No problem. All right. So, like I was saying, it is extremely important that you, as a fundamental, you need to make sure that you incorporate fast shipping within your business, and ultimately, this will result as happy customers. Okay, you will have good reviews for your business, and you'll be able to build a long-lasting brand. And in the same way, you'll get people to come back to your store and buy from you multiple times instead of just shopping with you just once, which is the case with some dropshippers that are using outdated business models. All right. So Fast shipping, again, will also improve your conversion rate. All right. So when I talk about your conversion rate, we're basically talking about out of out of the people that go onto your website, how many of those people actually purchase on your website? All right. So you can increase the amount of people that purchase on your website by offering good shipping. All right. Fast shipping. And the reason why it is so important, the reason why I chose to talk about this is because, you know, long shipping results with unhappy customers. And when you have unhappy customers, you're going to have bad reviews. And these people don't just complain with your store, like directly at your customer service. These people can potentially complain with your service providers. So imagine customers, unhappy customers, go to your merchant, your service provider. They go to, let's say you're advertising through Google, or you're advertising through Facebook, or maybe you're using PayFast or PayPal as a payment processing platform. These people are able to directly complain with these people, and these companies can shut you down. All right. So PayFast can shut you down. If you're on Shopify and people complain to Shopify about your business, Shopify will shut your business down. Okay, PayPal will shut your merchant account down. So you don't want to have those type of complaints. All right. So what type of shipping turnaround times are we looking at? How fast is fast shipping? Now, in my opinion, when we talk about local drop shipping, we're talking about like 1 to 5 business days. That is good. And most of the time, the most popular, I think, is about three or 4 business days for local deliveries. And that is good. All right. That is perfect. If you can have a supplier that is able to do that for you, that is great. And if you are drop shipping internationally, if you're able to deliver within 5 to 10 business days, that is decent. Okay, that is decent. That is acceptable for most people. All right. So that concludes the first fundamental thing that you need to get right. That is fast shipping. The second thing that I want to get into is product sourcing and finding a great supplier. This is something that you need to get right from the get-go in order to have a successful business. All right. What you need to understand is that because of the nature of your business is as good as, or it's as good or as bad as your supplier. So if you have a bad supplier, that is immediately going to reflect on your business, just because of the nature of your business. Remember, as a dropshipping business, you literally depend on your suppliers to fulfill your products. Okay. So if anything goes wrong with your supplier, that immediately reflects on your business. So it is extremely important that you find the right supplier to work with. Okay. So another very important thing, you need to make sure that you find a supplier that provides you with quality products. Okay, that's very important. Again, if this supplier provides products that are not really good, that is again going to reflect on your business. Okay, super important. And one of the things that earlier on in my dropshipping journey, something that I was not aware of is making sure that I review the supplier's return policy and warranty. Okay, so preferably you want to work with suppliers that have a return policy, and you want to work with suppliers that offer some type of warranty on their products, because truth be told, things do go wrong. Okay, products do break, and sometimes you find that customers are just not happy with the products that they received. So if they receive something that they're not really happy with, they should be able to return it. okay? And ultimately, in order to return it, your supplier should be able to accommodate that and help you with that, okay? So that is super important when you're looking for a supplier. Another very important thing, especially if you want to grow your business, is you want to work with a supplier that has the capacity to grow with you, okay? In other words, if you have a really good product, or maybe you hit the bullseye with the marketing and people, you have a whole lot of people that are showing interest in this product and you're selling, there's just a whole lot of demand for this product. Your supplier should be able to meet the demand, all right? And if they don't have a good amount of quantity of the product that is moving for you, you want to make sure that you communicate that, hey, listen, the product is working really well for me. Can you please make sure that you always have this in stock? Okay, so those are the type of things that you need to be able to be flexible with your, right? So that is the second fundamental thing that you need to make sure that you get right, and that is to find a great supplier. Now, how you find suppliers, it's just a matter of going on to, really, you just have to be out there. Okay? One of the most popular platforms and platforms that is growing and improving constantly is Dropstore. All right, with Dropstore, you don't catalog of suppliers with their products. All you have to do is link that your Shopify store or your WooCommerce, whatever platform you're using, really, you'll be able to do that. Okay, and outside of Dropstore, if you are looking for suppliers, you really just have to go out there and look. It's tough. It's not easy, but you just have to get your hands dirty. You have to be out there. You have to be hands-on, right? But Dropstore is a simple solution. Right? So before I get into the third thing, I just wanted to, as somebody that is very proud, guys, if you can just mute your, I would appreciate that. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So getting into the third point that I have for you guys today is you want to make sure that you optimize your website properly. And more importantly, you want to optimize your product page. All right. Now, this is a very broad topic, optimizing your website. We can talk all day about this, but I want to focus specifically on your product page, because most of the time when people come onto your website, coming from your marketing channels, they land on the product page, which is your sales page, so to speak. Okay, so a really good way to optimize your product page, these are these are the things that will help you convert more customers. The first thing that you want to make sure that you get right is using high quality images on your product pages. This is extremely important, and not just high quality images, but you want to make sure that you're able to show, like different angles of the product. Okay. Basically, the more insight you give the customer about this product that you're selling, the more likely they are to actually buy your product. So if you just have one image that doesn't necessarily show the product in full detail, it's very unlikely that they will go elsewhere to find the product. Wherever they find good quality images, they are more likely to purchase on that website. All right. So using high quality images is extremely important. If you don't have high quality images, make sure that that is a request that you put to your supplier. Okay, especially if this is a hard selling product for you, you want to make sure that you focus on optimizing that. Okay, and the second thing that I would recommend is using power words for your product titles and your descriptions. Okay, now what exactly are power words? the purpose of power words is to evoke two things, all right? And that is to evoke emotion and to evoke response, all right? Now, these are usually descriptive words, words that get into details of the product, okay? So power words instill desire, and ultimately what makes people take action on your products, what makes people purchase is desire, okay? People act on emotion. So the more desire you can instill in people is the higher the chances of them converting, okay? So that is why it's important to make sure that you incorporate power words within your product titles and your descriptions. And the last thing that I have for you is you want to describe the benefits of the product as much as you can, okay? You want to get into the real purpose of the product. A lot of people focus on like the features of the product and those technical things that you usually find in the manual book. You know, that's what a lot of people put on the product page, which is okay, but you ultimately want to focus on the benefits of this product. In order, like I said, in order for a person to buy, they need a desire to purchase whatever it is you're selling, okay? So by addressing the benefits, as many strong benefits as you can, then you are increasing the chances of them purchasing on your website. All right. So guys, these are the 3 fundamentals that I have for you today. I hope you guys are taking notes of these things. And yeah, that's all the 2 cents I have for you today. But best believe me, this 2 cent can make you a couple of thousands. It can make you a couple of hundreds of thousands. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Sylvester, and I hope this information that I shared with you will be super impactful in your business. Thank you, Wale.
Hey, thanks, Sylvester. Thanks for that. I really appreciate that. For everyone that has questions for any of the speakers, Sylvester and other talks, please, you can just write down your questions, or you can, or even better, comment on the post on the live video your questions, and we're going to take them down, and we're going to ask the questions to the speakers like after everyone has finished, during the Q&A session, because after everyone has finished talking, there will be a Q&A session where you can ask all the questions you want to ask. So I don't hold things up any longer. Our next speaker is Ayanda. If you have had to contact Dropstore, I'm sure you might have spoken to Ayanda at some point. Ayanda is going to tell you about Dropstore. I'm just going to get out his title over here. Ayanda is going to talk about how retailers and suppliers use Dropstore to increase their online sales. Ayanda, to you.
Thank you, Wale. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, Bo.
Cool. Thank you all for joining us here. As Wale has mentioned, my name is Ayanda. He just needs to get the van right. I'm the support manager for Dropstore. So if anybody has been on Dropstore, they probably would have interacted with me at some point, whether as a supplier or as a reseller. Am I loud enough? Okay. So my talk today will touch on 3 essential questions. What is Dropstore? Why use Dropstore either as a supplier or as a reseller? And how does one use Dropstore? And then I'll touch a little bit on the other services that we do provide as well. So just to get things started off, what is Dropstore? So Dropstore is a product marketplace and a platform that makes it easy for suppliers and resellers to meet. Resellers are able to find products and suppliers all over South Africa and instantly add them to their own online store automatically. For suppliers, Dropstore provides more distribution channels for their products, which will increase their sales. So Dropstore, as Sylvester was talking to us about dropshipping, Dropstore kind of automates the entire process of dropshipping. Why should you use Dropstore? As Sylvester has touched briefly on it, for an e-commerce entrepreneur, or if you're running an online store, you know the hassles of having to find products, suppliers, negotiate prices, and still look for reasonable courier services. So Dropstore completely removes these hassles for you and lets you focus on marketing and getting your sales. In this case, you would be looking towards Sylvester to be able to help you with that too. Right, on Dropstore, resellers are able to browse for products and add them to their stores, I mentioned, which is just in a few clicks. The orders that are then received in their stores are then imported to Dropstore, where they can complete their payments to the supplier, and the supplier will then ship from the warehouse directly to the customer's doorstep. For suppliers on Dropstore and why they should use it, we currently they get access to about over 16,000 online stores around South Africa at the moment. So it's a plus for everybody, at least. How does one use Dropstore? Now, I'm going to touch on as a reseller, and I'm going to touch on as a supplier how you would use Dropstore. As a reseller, and for Dropstore to work for you, first you need to have an online store that you can integrate with. Otherwise, it wouldn't be automatic and seamless. And we are able to integrate with e-commerce platforms such as Shopify, WooCommerce, and TradeGecko. But all is not lost if you do not have an online store that you can integrate with. That's what I'm going to be talking about a little bit later on in my talk, when I give you the other services that you're able to provide. The steps to register are quite easy for the reseller. We will be putting up these, I think we have the steps up, just going to confirm, but it's just to run through them briefly. So you get onto dropstore.co.za, you click on get started, sign up for free, and you would then select I want to be a reseller, and then you will proceed in completing the sign up form. Now, when you register as a new reseller or a merchant, as we call them, you get 14 days trial with your selected plan, and you'll be able to push in accordance to your chosen plan. Now, if you don't select a plan, which is still fine, because we have some people that would opt for wanting to just try it out. We do have a trial account that also gives you 14 days and up to about 200 products that you can add to the store. So Dropstore is a monthly subscription prepaid service, and it is ongoing monthly until you, the customer, cancels, which is the reseller. And you are given, as I mentioned before, you're given 14 days free prior to billing, whether on a paid plan or even on a trial account. Account payments are automatic if you're on the plan from the initial 14 days from the initial sign up, and they will automatically expire if you decided to go for a trial account. Now, you're wondering, what is this license that I'm talking about? Now, the license is the Dropstore product packages that we have. We call them licenses. Now, each license package gives you a specific number of products that you can then sync or link with your store. You can change what products you wish to have at any time in your store, and it won't change the product limit unless you decide that you want to upgrade to a different license package. For those that are on trial license, it will expire, but you have the opportunity to actually select a plan that will then enable you to continue with the service. Now, with Dropstore, as a reseller, you'll be able to see all the cost information for each product and the shipping fee for that particular product. Each product has a shipping cost and the fee, and you're then able to add a markup. Now we have markup percentages of 0 to 100 for resellers, which they can then be able to add either with a cost of the shipping plus the product, the total of that, or just on the cost of the product. They are set, depending on those settings, you can either add a markup to include shipping or not include shipping, which your profit will be determined by the markup you can add. An important thing to note, your customer does not see any Dropstore discounts or know that the final price includes shipping. So we've had instances, a lot of resellers would opt to ship without add a markup on just the cost and then charge at the end of the checkout journey in their store. But then they would need to also be able to cater for that shipping cost of that particular product. Other resellers would rather opt to charge a total amount, which includes the cost and the shipping, and then just charge no shipping on their own online store. It's just some of the ways in which, some of the strategies in which they can get some sales. Now I'm going to move on to the supplier, why suppliers would use Dropstore, or rather how they would be onboarded. It's a little bit different for the suppliers because it requires a lot more company information than just the individual information for those signing up as resellers. And product integration is free for suppliers, so we do not charge suppliers to have their product on Dropstore. The only charge there would be for a supplier would be a transaction cost for when we need to pay your money. So after the initial sign up as a supplier, which on the registration form, you would simply just select, I want to supply inventory, and then proceed to completing the sign up form. So after that initial sign up, you get a verification mail and details of your account manager, whom you'll be able to contact in the event of any questions or issues that you may have. The most frequent question usually is, okay, how do I get my product in front of the people? How do I make sure that people are actually getting my product? We do initial marketing of new suppliers, and also, I always let our suppliers know that your price, your costing is so important. You can't want to overly price your product, and as well as the shipping fee, but otherwise the dropshipping method is not going to work for you. This won't work for you at all because people are going to sort of run away from your product because it's too expensive. Now, Dropstore has made the inventory uploading very easy for businesses signing up as suppliers, either who have a large catalog or small catalog, as we are able to integrate with TradeGecko, Shopify, WooCommerce, Shopping Feeder, and Stock to Shop. But we also do cater for those that may not have online stores with a manual product upload. We've introduced also a CSV importing into Dropstore for suppliers. That just requires a little bit more manual work for you as a supplier or a contact person as a supplier. Now, all products on Dropstore are discounted for the resellers, as it allows them to add a markup. We've been very we've allowed for a discounting of from 20%, which suppliers can actually go higher than that. In the event where they are pushing a clearance range, so they can go higher than that. But we do start off from 20%, and the discount that is being offered on Dropstore is the profit margin for our resellers and an incentive for them to market and sell their products as well. Resellers prefer a flat rate shipping fee. However, as a supplier, you are also able to add weight category rules, because not all your products are sort of the same, and you may not always ship out products on the same shipping fee as well. To be a supplier on Dropstore, you need to have a South African bank account so that you're able to receive your money, or even a pay fast account. As I mentioned earlier, for payouts, there is a transaction fee that we do charge suppliers, which is a 5% transaction fee per order. That is about the only thing. It's not added to the discount that you had, so we're not getting a commission from the discount that you've given the product, at the cost for. So that is just an incentive for our resellers. And we do have terms and conditions for suppliers, most importantly being that not to include any invoices or extra marketing material when sending out packages, because it is understood that these customers belong to the reseller, and you are providing the final journey of getting their product to their customer, because their customer is the one that's going to be receiving your tracking number that you would forward or add onto the dashboard, which then the reseller would receive and then forward to their own customer. Now, I had mentioned we have started we have other services in Dropstore. Initially, when we started the Dropstore as just an inventory marketplace, it was soon realized that the South African online market, though growing at a very tremendous rate, was still very unknowledgeable in dropshipping, as Sylvester has mentioned prior. And many people were wanting to be part of Dropstore, but just didn't know, or just do not have stores, or even know how to get an online store. So we introduced 2 other extension services, which are available to resellers to help them, to help them get into the e-commerce space, and also be able to take advantage of the benefits that Dropstore has to offer. One of them is a ready-to-go DIY online store. It is a monthly subscription online store. We call it D-Store. And also we have the second one, which is a fully customized, preloaded product category e-commerce store that is on a once-off payment. So this one here, we build the entire thing for you from start to finish, and it comes with some nice benefits. I'm going to talk a little bit about both. So as mentioned, the D-Store was introduced to assist new entrepreneurs to get an online store at a fraction of cost of a developer or website designer would charge, and that is ready to do business from day one. And you're able to sell and market your business as well using that. So everything is pre-configured for you, so you can have your store ready in minutes. That is on a monthly cost of about 119 Rand. Though D-Store comes with just a domain hosting as part of the package, you are able to link an existing registered domain name with your D-Store and point your D-Store domain to that registered website. So if you, for example, if you had ayanda.co.za as a domain and you just opened up a D-Store with Dropstore, you're able to point your D-Store to your domain, so that when people go into your ayanda.co.za website, they still get your store. This service you're able to access as an extension in your Dropstore reseller account, and the setup is also quite simple. You just simply follow the prompts, and in about 5 minutes you have your store. So once you have your store, you can sync your inventory and you can start selling almost immediately. We do also provide you with tutorials, because as I mentioned, it is a DIY online store. So we provide you a tutorial to assist you in being able to build this. We build it on a WooCommerce platform, so we do give you all the necessary tools for it, and we still provide the ongoing support for it. We've also enabled a few other extensions that come with it that will assist you in being able to customize your store, where you add logos and so on. Now, the details of how you log in and your details to log into your store will be available in your Dropstore account. So you have everything all in one place. You don't have to go out to a different, you don't have to go out to a different platform in order for you to access this. All that information is given to you on Dropstore and in your reseller account. The second service that we, as I've mentioned to you, was the Ready Store package. This is on a once-off payment. It's an e-commerce website with preloaded products. You're looking at about 100 plus preloaded category products. With it, the benefit you get besides the products that are preloaded, you get a Dropstore merchant account. You get a free domain name, which we will host for a full year. You get up to about 10 email addresses, Google Analytics. And we have a range that you are able to choose from. But also, you're not just limited to just choosing from that range, as we are able to also build one that is, customized specifically for you. So that is it from my side. Again, if there's any questions, please do have them ready, and I'll be happy to answer anything that you guys have for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ayanda, thanks a lot for that. So really, yeah, I'm sure people really appreciate that talk that you gave, and there are quite a few questions for you to answer after our next speakers are going to speak. For anyone that's just joining us right now, if you guys want to promote your website right now, we are currently hashtagging e-commerce day 2021. If you look at the link on the live, you see that hashtag, like there are contributors all over the country right now from different institutions, different events that are taking place. So if you want to promote your store, because the hashtag, I promise you, it's going to trend. So if you want your store to be promoted at this particular time, please tweet what we're doing, tweet something about your store, and use the hashtag e-commerce day 2021. All right, on to our next speakers. This talk is going to be in form of a discussion between Jeffery Hancox and Geoffrey Sutcliffe. Okay, it's on how to build and where to market a dropshipping e-commerce store for sales. All right, gents, I'm going to leave this to you.
Thanks, Adewale. How's it, guys? And hello to everybody out there in Facebook land. So just as we speak, if you guys can just drop comments into the chat, and then at the end, obviously, we'll make sure we get everything. And also, if something else comes up, just pop it into the chat, the comment thread on the group, and I'll make sure between myself and Jeff that we kind of answer everything. So basically, I'm a partner at Digital Cartel, and I'm generally the head of all things cool. And Jeff is the other partner in the business. He's generally head of all things not so cool. So basically, if you kind of know who we are and you've been following us a little bit, you'll know that we're quite big on kind of telling people the truth about things. And the real reason rather is that we do that is because we want you to be successful, and we want you to know what you need to know in order to be successful. So as Sylvester so rightly pointed out in the beginning, is that the first thing of transitioning into online, and specifically into e-com or drop shipping, is really the store. And I think he was quite conservative on his price point. I actually got a quote earlier this week, just from like a random design agency that specializes in this area, and I got a quote closer to 50K for a site. Now the problem with that is that although it's going to look really cool and it's going to have some really good functionality, the problem with that is that it means nothing. It's just the brick and mortar part of an online business. So what I think is like super important for everyone to realize up front is that this is a business like any other business. The difference is that you operate it online as opposed to in a shopping center. If you look at it from like a retail context, and you've got to understand is that those same investment levels are going to be there in the end. So you need to invest in your brick and mortar. And like how do you do that? Because the thing is that if you Google build an online store in South Africa, you're going to get like millions and millions and millions of listings on Google, and it's like, oh my god, like where do I even start? So basically, there are a couple of commonly used platforms, if you will, that do this. So you have at the top of the pile is Shopify. That's probably the biggest for e-commerce worldwide. Then WooCommerce and WordPress is probably just below that or somewhere below that. And then you have the lesser known ones like PrestaShop and BigCommerce and Magento, which are all very, very good. And we actually do build on those for clients of ours, although we don't recommend for somebody getting into the space to build on them because they are super technical and you do need to have a lot of technical skills in order to make them work. So it really kind of leaves us with Shopify and WooCommerce. So Shopify is good. The downsides of Shopify are obviously cost. So there is it's like $29 a month for minimum scaling, all the way to about $300 a month for their top packages. But you never own that. It's always on their platform. It's always hosted by them. It's really good from a point of view of integrations, and you can get set up really quick. So, you know, $500 is what you're going to pay for the average guy to do a pre-built for you, and you can be online within days, which is amazing. And it's actually super easy to manage. There's a lot of integrations that help you pull product in and price updates and like images and descriptions and shipping and, you know, client management, community management, and all that kind of cool stuff is done through an integration on Shopify. The other side of that coin is the WordPress kind of angle on that, and like full disclosure, we did go WordPress, and we do recommend WordPress mostly because our genesis is as WordPress developers. So we kind of just understand the infrastructure like really, really well. The upside again of that is that you can control your own hosting. Hosting is like hugely important. It's the most overlooked part of e-commerce and dropshipping. So basically, if your page loads in more than 4 seconds, it's game over. You might as well not even go there, because what's going to happen is that 80%-ish of your traffic is going to be on a mobile phone, and you're at the mercy of 4G or 3G connections, and up and down Wi-Fi in South Africa is a big problem. So as that connection speed slows down, so does your page load. If it doesn't load in 4 seconds, like I said, it's game over. So hosting is critically important. So what WordPress allows you to do is build an infrastructure around what you're doing that enables you to put the technical things in place that you need. So, and then from there, it's really about image quality. It's about quality of copy. It's understanding the avatar, understanding who buys my stuff and why do they buy my stuff, and writing messaging within your platform and structuring in a way that is easy to use, but they understand it and it directly hits why they want to spend money with you, because there's millions of people just like you in the space. So it's really important just to kind of have the what we call message match, the match between what the person, the consumer is feeling and what you're providing on your page, and then your product page optimization is hugely important. So, you know, if you miss it by a little, it could result in a lot of loss of revenue because people aren't converting, and it's going to be difficult for you to understand why. So understanding how to test that and optimize that is massively important. So that's kind of the overview. In terms of getting it built, there are a couple of things you can do. I don't believe that there's value for you in spending 15, 20, 30, 40 grand on getting something built that you can literally do yourself. So we do, funnily enough, run a program that teaches people how to do that. Basically what we do is, because we know that the website is the smallest component, that's free. We don't even charge for that, but we show you how to build it from scratch, from the ground up. So it is built on WordPress, but it's custom built from the ground up with you in a coaching environment. So you understand how to put all the different components that you need to put in place. How do you structure your product page? How does the copy work? How do all these things work? And then another, honestly, like a really good option is Dropstore solution that Ayanda spoke about, because it can get you up, and that's really what you need. You need once you're up, once you then develop the understanding of what we call conversion rate optimization and understanding all of those different things, you can work with and you can improve and optimize as you go. But the thing is, just get it up, and at the price points that he spoke about, that's a really good option in my view anyway. So that kind of covers that. It's just I believe that you should have the technical experience and knowledge on why things need to be done in the way that they need to be done. And then from there, it's really a game of marketing. And when it comes to that, the biggest problem is that there's this, what we see with our coaching clients is that there's this idea of if you build it, they will come, and it's just not true. If you build it, they won't even know that you're there, because there's so many competitors, so many stores, so much going on online, that from a marketing point of view, you really need to have a diverse approach. It can't just be a Facebook ad strategy. Although, somebody like me as a specialist media buyer in Facebook for e-commerce, I love that, because I can invoice you money and I keep making money, but it's not necessarily on its own gonna make you money. Then we have a multi-channel approach where we use lots of different touch points to build a community around our people, and then the data game can start to develop. So from a marketing standpoint, you have to think about this from quite a wide standpoint. You must be doing organic stuff. You must be tagging it on groups. You've got to put work in on organic and drive organic traffic, because the traffic just is higher quality than paid traffic. And then looking at different marketplaces in inverted commas that you can list on, and a lot of people shy away from that because the commissions are quite expensive. What they miss is the in front of the customer position that you can get yourself. There's no guarantee that they will only buy on that platform, but now they know who you are and what your site is, and they've gone there. Now you have them there, and you can track and you can build a data profile around your community of people, and as you go, you start driving sales, and then you can retarget those people that bought to buy again. So the second time they buy is cheaper than the first, and the third time is cheaper than the first 2 times. So what happens is you manage what we call the cost per acquisition over a long period of time, and that's really where scale comes in. And once you have this environment in place, then you can really drive scale. And that's how you get to what you see on YouTube with the dropshippers driving Lambos. It's really, most of those Lambos are rented, I'll have you know. But you can really get there, and it's all about scale. It's about you being profitable on the front end with what you're doing, and taking that profit and putting it back into your holistic marketing activity, and scaling until a point where if you wanna make 100K months, I can tell you that from my own personal experience of building dropshipping stores in South Africa to north of 100K, Jeff's built them to bigger than that in terms of monthly revenue. What we'll both tell you is that it's a function of marketing. It's a function of scale all the time. So those are the 2 big concepts that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Is really get a layout that is conversion focused, understand your people, and write copy and structure your pages with the customer in mind, with the pain and the reason why somebody wants to buy with you in mind is the first big thing. Have live chat as well. Like live chat's a huge trust driver. Have live chat, and you can hook them up to an app on your phone. You can be out and about, and you can answer live chat. It's a huge trust driver. From my experience, my little, at that time when I first started live chat, my little dropshipping store went from about 20-30K a month to 60 the month after, doubled the month after I did live chat, and I spent my whole day being 7 different people in live chat. But it really makes a big difference to the trust factor. And then when you look at your marketing, it's not a single channel thing. It's not a Facebook ad. It's not a Google ad. It's not a Google shopping ad. It's not price check. It's not organic. It's not SEO. It's a combination of all of those things. You need to have everything in place, and you really need to be super focused on managing the traffic and managing the data, so that you can have repeat purchases and you can retarget people to buy again and again and again, and build fans, build loyalty within your customer base, because that's what drives revenue over the long term. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to chat about. Please do, if there's any questions on any of this, please drop comments. Please drop comments onto the live later, and I'll make sure that I answer them. But then that's kind of it from me. Jeff, I guess you also want to say a couple of things.
Yeah, let me say a couple of things. So thanks, Jeff, for your presentation, and to Wale, thanks very much for the opportunity. Sylvester and Ayanda, great presentations, and I'm going to now expand on pretty much what all the previous speakers have been talking about. So, I think by now everyone's got a really good idea how to get started in this business, and there are so many options. the guys at Dropstore have various options that they mentioned today. We've got some options as well, which Jeff's mentioned. You can go out and try and do some of these things yourself. And the barrier to entry doesn't exist. There are no economic barriers to entry. It's relatively inexpensive to get started. So I think my first message to everybody is, if you're interested in getting to this marketplace, take serious action today. Get started. Do something, even if it's committing to educating yourself a bit further, or committing to being more active or more involved in the dropshipping for South African dropshippers group. Even if it's just that, take some sort of serious action today, and things will start to happen for you. All right, so in the previous presentations, we heard all about getting started, getting the store built, and Dropstore, and what Dropstore is all about. And I've been in the e-commerce game since 2011, long before services like Dropstore and Shopify and WooCommerce and PayFast and UAfrica and all of these other wonderful services that exist today, long before any of them existed. And it was exceptionally difficult to get into the market. So even though there were no economic barriers to entry, there were very technological barriers to entry, because none of these services existed. And for anyone who's been in this space for a long time, I cannot express enough what a lifesaver the Dropstore system is. Okay, and I'm happy to engage with anybody about how good it is and what a game changer it is in this market. All right. What we do on our programs is we use Dropstore exclusively, actually, as our sourcing provider, because we believe in the program so much. All right, so what we've heard about is how to build the store, how to get suppliers, how to not have to worry about deliveries and fulfillment, and that's all great. And that's enough to get you started, and to get you started relatively cost effectively. In fact, it's so cost effective anyone can afford to get started, and extremely quickly as well. But what then? And Jeff touched on a really good point. Unlike traditional business, where there's this adage that build it and they will come, it's not like that in e-commerce. All right, you can have all this great tech that we've been speaking about today set up, but how do you get the traffic? And one thing Jeff mentioned, and I'm going to expand on that as a departure point, is creating fans and creating customer loyalty. All right, so my talk today is going to be sort of split into two sections. The first is how to create not only fans, but how to create raving fans. And why is that important in the first place? From a business point of view, from a rands and cents in your bank account point of view, why is that important? And the second thing I'm going to talk about is technology, and how we can use technology to maximize our potential to be successful in the e-commerce space. Okay, so first of all, why do we need to create raving fans? And what is a raving fan? So a raving fan is someone who has a good experience with you and who comes back to you time and time and time again. And the reason they do that isn't because you're the cheapest. Anybody with no talent can launch a successful business by being the cheapest in the market. So we don't talk about that, because being a successful business person is about more than being the cheapest in the market. Being the cheapest in the market will never give you long-term sustainability. What will give you long-term sustainability is having a customer base that follows you as if you're the only thing that exists. All right, and that's something we often speak about it in the South African the dropshipping group that you're all in right now. We're speaking about it in our own groups and on our Facebook page. How to create raving fans. Now, from a business point of view, why is this important? So Jeff mentioned, marketing and getting your brand and your store out in various places, not just running Facebook ads, not just running Google ads, but also, doing other things like having an organic strategy, and there are many other ways that you can get into the market. But regardless of what that sort of marketing mix, that mix of activities that you do to drive traffic into your store, regardless of what that looks like, all right, there's always going to be some sort of a cost to acquire your first customer, or to acquire any customer for the first time and get them to buy from you the first time. And that cost is high, okay? Sometimes if you're just running Facebook ads, for instance, and you're trying to market a particular product and your only source of driving traffic to your store is through Facebook ads, the cost of running that ad will be more than the profit you make on the sale, all right? And that's why we often speak about a multi-marketing approach where you combine paid marketing with free marketing, like organic marketing, because that obviously brings down your total cost. But best case scenario, all right, best case scenario, if you do this properly, the cost it's going to take you to get your first customer will be equal to the profit you make on that sale. That's kind of the ideal position to be in, which means you make no money. I sell to Jeff for the first time, he becomes a customer of mine. It's not cost me anything to acquire him as a customer, but I've made no money. Then I sell to Sylvester. I've paid something, whether I've paid with my time or paid with my money to Facebook to find Sylvester. He comes and buys something from me. The profit I make is equal to the cost, more or less, if I'm lucky, and I make no money. But now I've got 2 customers. Then I do a little bit more marketing and Ayanda comes and he buys something, all right? And the same thing happens. It's cost me X to get him as a customer. That's more or less equal to the profit I've made. So now I still haven't made 1 single rand profit, but I've got 3 customers. Right. So where do we actually make money out of this business? We make money out of this business from the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth purchase. But that's only possible if your customers buy from you a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth time. Okay? And the reason you make money the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth time is because it doesn't cost you something to get that customer again. So you remarket to your existing customer base, and when they buy again, there's no cost of acquisition. There's no cost to acquire that new customer, so you make the full profit on that sale. A question that we often get asked is, this industry is really booming right now. Yes, granted, but there are all these big established players. How am I going to stand out? How am I going to launch a dropshipping business and compete against these juggernaut companies with multi-million-dollar advertising budgets? And the answer is easy, okay? Because they can't do what you can do. Those big companies will never be specialists in product, all right? They will never be specialists in terms of advice and in terms of customer service, most importantly, all right? Jeff mentioned the live chat. You're not going to go onto a big retailer and see a live chat there. I mean, you'll be lucky if you call a call center and get through to somebody. These are the things that are going to make you different compared to one of the big established players out there, all right? And if you do these things right, you will start developing a customer base of raving fans. And it'll get to the point where it doesn't matter if you are 20% more expensive on the same product as one of the big players out there, you will get the sale, all right? That's why in traditional retail, independent retailers still exist, even though we've got massive retailers, brick and mortar retailers like Game and Macro and so on, they only make up sort of 60% of the brick and mortar retail market. The rest is made up by camera specialists and audio specialists and camping specialists and homeware specialists. And why? Because when you go to a specialist, you'll get premium service, you'll get expert advice. And what we have to do here, what our mission is doing exactly the same thing online and to create raving fans in the process. Okay, so I hope that makes sense so far. If you don't focus on the entire customer journey and what we call LTV, lifetime value, lifetime customer value, all right? If you don't focus on that, then don't even worry about getting started because you're not going to make money, all right? This is the most critical thing to get right for you to be successful, to create a blow-away customer experience, okay? So even before you try and figure out what you're going to sell, try and figure out how are you going to provide the most amazing experience for your customers. Okay, extremely important. So next I'm going to touch on a concept called HPACE. So HPACE, Now, what in the devil is HPACE? HPACE. It stands for a highly personalized, automated customer experience. And I'm going to expand on that a little bit as we start talking about tech and where tech fits into creating this, this amazing customer experience that you're going to be providing your customers. All right? In the past, and I'm not talking about the past as in 10 years ago, I'm talking about sort of the recent past. A lot of marketers in the offline and the online space speak about customer journeys. Okay, so this concept of a customer journey and lifetime customer value and all that kind of thing, it's not new. All right, but we never talk about customer journeys in our business. Okay, because it is a shallow, meaningless term as far as I'm concerned. Because a journey can either be pleasurable or it can be unpleasurable. The last time I bought something from a big e-commerce player, I had a journey with that person. You know, I went onto their site, I clicked purchase, I ordered, I got a confirmation email, I got a promise that I'd get a delivery 2 days later. The delivery didn't come. Then I got another promise it would be here 2 days later. Then the delivery didn't come again. Then they lost the parcel. Then they refused to refund me. So I had a journey. I had a customer journey. But was it a pleasurable customer journey? No, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. All right, so we don't talk about customer journeys because it's shallow and it's meaningless, right? What we talk about is customer experiences, right? We want to give someone an amazing customer experience. So yes, that is a journey, right? But it's a positive, enlightening journey that's going to create a raving fan out of someone at the end of the day, right? So gone are the days of customer journeys, and in is HPACE, a highly personalized, automated customer experience. All right, so the automated part, that's where the tech comes in. Okay, I want to just explain, okay, so highly personalized automated customer journey. So what does personalized mean? Where does the personalized part of this come in? Personalized doesn't just mean that when I get my order, it's got my name on it. Or if I get a newsletter, it doesn't say dear customer, it says dear Jeff, you know. That is like mail merge from the 1980s. That's where it all kind of started, but that's not what a personalized customer experience is all about, okay? What a personalized customer experience is about is having some form of a communication with the customer in a very, very highly personalized way based on somebody's behavior. So let me expand on that a little bit and tell you what I mean. In the olden days, and the olden days of the internet is like 5 years ago, right? So in the olden days, it used to be okay to send out a newsletter once a month or once every 2 weeks to your entire database. And say now you've been going for a couple of months, you've got a database of 1,000 people, you sell sporting gear, all right, you've got a little sports online store, and you send out a newsletter once a month to your entire 1,000 person database, and you think it's personalized because it says, dear Sylvester, and dear Ayanda, and dear Jeff, okay? And what this newsletter says is, we've got baseballs, tennis rackets, snorkels, hunting gear, and backpacks available for 20% discount this month. And you send it out to everybody. Now, what happens if 99% of that database has got no interest in any of those products because all of them are cyclists? You know, you sending a message to 990 cyclists who have got no interest in all this other stuff that you're busy trying to market to them. So how effective is your campaign going to be? It's going to be highly ineffective. You're not going to make a single sale. Now, what if you knew that of those 1,000 people, these ones often go to this particular category page on your website, and these ones click on that type of product. They haven't bought anything yet, but that's where they're browsing on your website. And these people over here, they've actually gone and added, you know, a particular product to their shopping cart. And these ones are looking at this, and these ones have actually purchased something in the past. Now imagine when you send your special out, you can send different versions of the special out that to people based on what their browsing or their purchase behavior is. So if Jeff bought a tennis racket from me last month, the message I want to send him is going to be a message to say we've got tennis balls on special. Not we've got squash rackets and rugby boots and whatever else. He's not interested. He's a tennis player. All right. Now, if you've got even more than 10 people, to try and do this type of thing manually, to try and segment your customer base based on their behavior so that you can send them highly personalized messages, is impossible, quite frankly. All right. You need technology to be able to do this for you. All right. Technology is only kind of takes care of the first half, though, and that is organizing data and telling you who's interested in what and what people are looking at and what people are buying. But then it's up to you to go and create a customer experience based on that information, a highly personalized customer experience. But it's the sort of thing that you create once, you build it into your platform, and the whole thing runs on autopilot. Okay, I hope this is making sense so far. So I'm just going to quickly move forward and then just to sort of repeat what all the other speakers have said. You know, I'm also available for questions afterwards. I know this is a bit more of a technical explanation that I'm going to go into now. I'm going to start talking about different types of software that many of you may not have heard of before. All right, so please ask questions if you'd like to afterwards. Okay, so I think we all agree by now that what you need is a highly personalized customer experience, because that's what's going to create raving fans, and that's ultimately how you make money, how you build a thriving business, a thriving e-commerce business. Okay, so what is the software available for us to use? All right. Now, I'm not going to talk about, well, I'm going to talk about a couple of different platforms that you may have heard of before, all right? But before I go into that, you may have heard of terms like autoresponders or CRMs or email marketing platforms or automation platforms or data integration platforms. So the software I'm going to speak about now is, it's kind of, all of them have elements of all of these different things, all right? But it's important to know that an autoresponder is not the same as a CRM. And a CRM is not the same as an integration platform, right? So all of these platforms I'm going to speak about now have elements of all these things. Some platforms are better at certain parts, and because that's what they focus on. All right, and there are many platforms out there that do this type of thing. I'm going to focus on 6 of them, but I'll mention a couple, right? So the 6 I'm going to focus on are HubSpot, and you may have heard these. I hope you are familiar with some of these. HubSpot, Salesforce, ActiveCampaign, Drip, MailChimp, GetResponse. Okay, those are the 6 that I'm going to be speaking about now quickly. So HubSpot, Salesforce, ActiveCampaign, Drip, MailChimp, and GetResponse, right? There are loads and loads and loads of others. You can go online, go and have a look. We're not affiliated to any of these. There's a preferred one that we use, which I'm going to tell you about, all right? But we're not affiliated to any of them. I'll just give you my best advice on all of them. There are loads of others that you might have heard of. You may have heard of Aweber, ConvertKit, Symphony, GrooveFunnels, ClickFunnels, you know, Constant Contact, Klaviyo. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these platforms, all right? But don't get lost in the noise. If you're going to go and look at something, you know, go and look at those top 6: HubSpot, Salesforce, ActiveCampaign, Drip, MailChimp, and GetResponse. So I'm going to quickly just explain what the difference between some of these are. HubSpot and Salesforce, those are sort of the Rolls-Royce platforms. They do everything. They're customized. You can build custom apps for them. And they are very much geared towards enterprise. So they're extremely, extremely expensive, all right? So in a few years' time, once you've built your e-commerce empire, come and speak to us and we'll tell you how to get started with HubSpot and Salesforce. Companies like Coca-Cola and Microsoft, they are using platforms like this, all right? So they're a little bit inaccessible to you and I right now. But that's where ActiveCampaign and Drip come in. ActiveCampaign and Drip are the 2 most amazing marketing platforms available out there that have very similar feature sets to the 2 big boys, HubSpot and HubSpot and Salesforce, but it's accessible. These 2 platforms, ActiveCampaign and Drip, they are accessible, they are affordable. I mean, you can start accounts with these guys for like $15 a month, you know, whereas, you know, that'll barely buy you a consultation with the sales guy at Salesforce these days. Right, so ActiveCampaign and Drip, two wonderful platforms, very well established, very well developed, and they've both got highly advanced e-commerce features. Right, so I just want to quickly speak about, well, I'll go into the difference between those two in a second. Next on the list, the last two is MailChimp and GetResponse. Right, now MailChimp and GetResponse, I think most people would be aware of, and the big difference between MailChimp and GetResponse is they are primarily email marketing tools, right? So they have got some sort of e-commerce functionality and e-commerce integration, but they're not really geared towards that just yet. There's active development happening on these on MailChimp and GetResponse, where they are adding new features to allow you to integrate with your e-commerce platform, but they're not quite there yet. Right. So if you're looking at a way to create an automated customer journey, customer experience, have a look at ActiveCampaign and Drip. Now, ActiveCampaign and Drip both allow you to do exactly what I was mentioning before. Track people's behavior on your website, track exactly what they're doing, and build lists of your customers and people that are interested in your store, or people that have bought from you, to create lists based on whatever criteria you define, based on the sort of products they're searching for, how often they're going to a certain product, how often they buy a certain type of product. And then once you've got that information, you can go and create your customer journeys, your communication journeys with the customer, where you can use obviously email, you can use WhatsApp, and you can use SMS, and everything is managed by this one platform. Right? ActiveCampaign, you know, in our business, the Digital Cartel, we do a lot of other things as well. We've got a digital marketing company, we've got a consulting firm. So we use ActiveCampaign because it is more suitable to those businesses, but it also works quite well for our e-commerce businesses, right? But today, I'm going to recommend that everybody goes and has a look at Drip. Right? Because we're not talking about consulting and digital marketing and all that, we're talking about e-commerce. Drip is a purpose-built e-commerce platform, okay? And it is absolutely fantastic. So Drip will integrate with your store, whether it's a WooCommerce store or a Shopify store, using something called deep data integration, okay? And basically what that means is everything that happens on your store, all that information, all that browsing data that your customers are producing on the platform gets fed into Drip, and that allows you to go and create these customer experiences. There's nothing better than Drip. So go and check it out. There are loads of YouTube videos on how that platform works, and it's really, really cheap and quite easy to use. All right, so that sort of brings me to the end of my presentation. So basically, just to summarize, creating raving fans is your absolute number one. You need brilliant software and technology to be able to manage this process for you. Go check out Drip. It's absolutely amazing. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak to you all today. I hope you found this interesting, and we'll take comments and questions in the Q&A. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you so much, Geoffrey, and thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate all the knowledge that you guys just poured out. I'm getting notifications over here from friends who are asking me, who are those nerds talking about dripping and active campaigns? Because you guys, you guys shared just so much knowledge, and you dropped so many good points. We're going to move on to, before I move on, if you guys are wondering where you can find Geoffrey and Jeff, you can find them, you can find their website. It's called thedigitalcartel.com, and Sylvester Buti. If you guys are wondering where you can find Sylvester, his website is dropshippingacademy.co.za. They also have pages as well on Facebook. If you guys just search, well, if you go to the website, you will also find the links to the social media pages at the bottom of the website. All right, so we're gonna move on to, we're gonna just open up questions, firstly to members of, to the people that are currently in the room as well. Is there anyone right now in the room that has a question that they want to ask before we move to the other questions? Okay, if you have questions, you need to unmute your microphone. All right, cool. I'm gonna jump into the first question that I saw on the live that we currently have on within the group right now. And the first question is, do you need a license to sell goods, especially dry goods, online? Any one of you guys can answer it. Jeff, Sylvester, Ayanda?
Yeah, I'll get it. Can you repeat the question really quickly for me?
Do you need a license to sell specially dry goods online?
I don't believe you do. I think depending on what the actual product is, you might want to just look into regulation around that. Honestly, you know, if you've got a product and you've got your own brand and you have your own like sort of logistics engine around that, the best thing to do is just work with someone that understands the e-commerce space and how to penetrate whatever market you're looking to penetrate with it. I think that, I mean, as long as there's no regulation around your industry specifically, you shouldn't have a problem doing anything like that. I think possibly the question might be targeted more around what Ayanda was talking about in terms of licensing. And I think what that just to clarify, what that really refers to is that Dropstore have done all of us such a solid by putting all of the time, money, and investment into developing the platform that they had. Not too long ago, we couldn't do this in South Africa. Not too long ago, as dropshippers locally based, we were at the mercy of really bad supply networks, and it was really, really difficult. So when they came in and they provided a platform that enabled that changed a hell of a lot. So if that's what you meant, I think he was referring to the licensing on Dropstore. There's different tiers that they have based on how many products you have and a couple of different things. It's a really cool website. Just go and have a look, and it's all really, really like clearly explained. So if that's what you kind of meant, that's what that is. And then in terms of something specific, I think just look into the regulation around that. There may be, but there may not be as well.
Thanks so much, Jeff. There's a question here from Murray. It says, what is the best way of selecting a market or range of products to sell?
Do you want me to grab that one as well?
Does anyone else want to take it? Sure.
Okay.
Go for
it. Hey, Murray. Okay, so look, it's a little bit of a loaded question, to be honest, because it's very much about what you want to be doing, what we call niche, what section of an industry do you really want to be working in, and what we tell our coaching clients all the time is the first two things you really must decide is there a market for the product within that niche? Can I sell it? And can I be profitable first? Those are the first two things, because if you can't be profitable, you're going to have a very miserable business. So you kind of work that out. Then from there, it's really a function of research. So what you really want to do is, once you've decided, say you want to do cell phone accessories, yeah? So once you've decided that that's the niche I want to be in, that's the kind of stuff I want to do, and I can be profitable doing it, then what you want to do is go through a research phase. So it's very important to go and have a look at all the competitors and go and look at what their best sellers are. They'll have them on their websites. And then from there, you're going to get an initial sense of a range. So what I'm going to actually go and do is I'm going to drop a little a concept that we don't actually talk about very much, because it's something that we kind of reserve for our coaching clients. But what we like to do is a big part of our research process. We'll go into price check, and we'll go and search for general niches, and we'll go and look at what the top products on price check are. Because the way price check works is that it's based on clicks, right? So what happens is products go up, they get ranked. They go up based on sales because Price Check can track that, and they get ranked on clicks. So what you want to do is you really want to start with the popular stuff. The downside to that is it's going to be competitive. So you've got to balance the popularity of a range of products that you're running with competitivity in the marketplace, because that impacts obviously pricing and then later margins. But to answer your question, really what you want to do is select a niche that you'd like to start with, or we normally recommend 3 because you might not get it right at the first go, and then really just research your competitive market. And from that, you'll build a list of a range, and then you can use we highly recommend all of our coaching clients use Dropstore. We recommend Dropstore to deliver that range to your marketplace.
Okay, thanks so much, Jeff. The next question is there a reason that there are no suppliers for wallpaper on Dropstore? Ayanda, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, sure, I can take this one. Okay, so there might be wallpaper products, but not specifically just full-on wallpaper suppliers. We do have on Dropstore though sorry, my sound is terrible. Yeah, we do have on Dropstore though an affiliate program where you as a reseller can actually refer suppliers to us. So whatever supply that you're looking for, if you don't find them on Dropstore, or you're finding minimal products of that particular one and you know of a supplier, you can literally refer them to Dropstore, and we'll be able to then either get in contact with them, or either they can just simply follow the onboarding process, and we will have the discussion with them on getting the product onto Dropstore. So he may look at going through using the search feature to see if there's any wallpaper product, and not specifically for a supplier, but to get a supplier. We'll be happy to get a referral so we can get the type of suppliers that they want to see on Dropstore as well.
Thanks a lot, Ayanda, for that answer. The next question is what are the best niche products in South Africa? Does anybody want to volunteer to answer that?
Yeah.
What are the best niche products in South Africa?
I think I'll take that one. Typically there's certain categories of products that just generally sell well online, and this isn't really unique to South Africa. It's sort of a global trend, and we definitely do follow these global trends, especially in the e-commerce space. So the first thing is, I just want to mention that, look, the e-commerce market, anything will sell on the e-commerce market. So you don't need to necessarily be selling a product in one of these, say, top 4 or 5 niches to be successful. All right. In fact, it might be easier for you to be successful in a niche that isn't one of the top 5 because you'll have less competitors. All right. So, but before I go into what those niches are, price point is quite important. Okay. So if you're thinking of products, I just want to mention something about price point first. Generally speaking, and especially if you're a brand new e-commerce store, someone is not going to go and drop 10,000 Rand with you on the first sale. It's very highly unlikely. Okay. So there are a couple of sweet spots. You don't want to be selling products, have a whole range of products that are sort of sub 100 Rand, because it's going to be very difficult for you to make money. The sweet spot is generally between about 300 Rand and 900 Rand. So if majority of the products that you're selling are between those price points, that's normally a good indication that you're going in the right direction. At least half of your catalog should be in that price range, because that's how you're going to acquire those initial customers. All right. But once again, you don't need to be competing in the top niches, because anything will sell online, basically. All right, so the top niches, from my personal experience, and things that are generally quite easy to sell, electronics is always the number one. But electronics is extremely difficult to get right. It's very, very competitive. You know, there are lots of people selling electronic products, and the margins are generally a little bit lower than some of the other products. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of. Within electronics, you can niche down a little bit to electronics that are slightly higher margin and also high demand. So in other words, instead of selling televisions, laptops, cameras, all the sort of traditional electronics that are commoditized and relatively low margin, maybe rather focus on more modern trending products like sports electronics, you know, digital scales, smartwatches, those types of things, right? There are less people doing those types of products compared to televisions and hi-fis and cameras and laptops and everything, and the margins are generally higher, right? So that's electronics. Then anything to do with camping and outdoors. Camping and outdoors is huge. Home and DIY. Okay, home and DIY, and there are some amazing home and DIY suppliers on Dropstore. I use Dropstore personally for some of my own e-commerce businesses, and one of them is, I'm selling homeware products, and there's an amazing. There are a couple of really good suppliers on Dropstore for those types of products. All right, within home and DIY, so anything to do with organizing your space. Okay, so things like containers or things to organize your kitchen or things, just think about it. These days, houses are getting smaller. There's less space, and people just don't have space. All right, so anything that will help organize your space. A cupboard organizer or a shelf that you can put in your garage. These types of products sell extremely well online. All right. Then baby products. Baby products is huge. All right. Also, it's quite easy. One of the easiest customers to sell to is a mother, especially a mother of a young child. Okay. A young parent or any parent, in fact, will really do anything for their child. And if you put a good offer in front of somebody, your chance of actually making the sale is quite good. So baby products right up there on the list. And the nice thing about baby products is in the brick and mortar space, if you've ever been into a Baby City or one of these types of brick and mortar businesses, have a look at those prices and have a look at the prices of baby products and toys and that kind of thing that you can get on Dropstore, and then see for yourself if there's an opportunity there. I'd say those are
Jeff,
probably.
What do you think about clothing and fashion accessories?
Okay, so that's a really good question. I think it's probably one of the best niches to go into. Because generally your margins are going to be the highest for clothing and fashion compared to anything else. Also, people want something that's unique. People don't want to go and shop at Edgar's or Foschini's or wherever and buy the same thing that everyone else buys. So if you can get product supply from a smaller, more boutique type supplier through Dropstore, it's a major opportunity because people are looking for uniqueness. People want to have a unique identity. So, from a marketability point of view, people love buying fashion online. Personally, that's the one part of the e-commerce industry I don't have any personal experience in. I just know what the margins look like. So, I know there are some challenges with that industry, like how to deal with returns and how to deal with clothing sizes and all that kind of thing. That's something that your supplier needs to make you comfortable with, and you've got to ask a lot of questions in that department. But as far as, is it easy to sell those types of products online? Absolutely. It's huge. It's huge. Is it a good niche to go into? Definitely, because the margins are really good as well. And shipping costs are low. There was a discussion earlier about shipping costs. Generally, your shipping costs on Dropstore are probably going to be between 75 and 100 Rand. On clothing, it's more likely to be 75 Rand for most suppliers, I would guess, because it's cheaper to ship clothing than to ship televisions. I would say absolutely go for it. In fact, one of our students at the moment is busy establishing a fashion store right now called The Look. So look out for it. But I'll be able to give you more feedback once I've had hands-on experience. But I would say absolutely, fashion, go for it. Margins are good, demand is high, and people are looking for individuality, which you can get through Dropstore suppliers. Yeah, and that probably wraps it up. Those are the top 5. So home and DIY, outdoor and garden, camping, electronics, baby products, and fashion. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Jeffrey.
Sure.
I'm going to move on to a question that was asked within the room. And it was asked by Namal, which is, how do you build a powerful brand effectively and cost effectively? And I can see that Jeff has actually answered that question. He said, building your brand effectively really starts with research. You must know your market. Jeff, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the effective building of the brand really is a function of you understanding what that brand identity is for you first. You can't communicate that which you do not know. So the first thing is really just the conversation with yourself to say, like, who am I and what do I stand for? What are my principles, or what are my fundamentals of my business and of me? And from there is really about how do I communicate that. Once you have that kind of framework, then it's really important to understand the personality of the client that you're going to be serving. So even within the drop shipping space, we're not a big proponent of just range everything, because it becomes incredibly difficult to manage and to optimize. So what we're looking to do is say, what do you stand for? Are you the electronics guy? Are you the baby guy? Are you the weddings guy? Are you the what guy? Who are you? And then the research is really understanding what those, go into groups and that are specific to that niche, and what are the questions people are asking, what are the things that they're saying. And that's really where the research component comes in. So once you understand your fundamentals, what do I stand for, and then you feel like you have a good understanding of the people that you serve, what are their issues, what are their pains, then you can align messaging towards that. And it can get quite technical when you get into like color theory. If somebody has fear, there's color combinations that you can use to communicate that subconsciously. But those are the really big pillars: is understand you and what do you want to stand for, understand who do you serve, and what are their personas, what are their pains, what are their fears, what are they trying to achieve themselves. And then your messaging needs to mirror that thing. So when somebody sees that, intrinsically it connects, they resonate with that message. And that's really the most effective way to do it. If you wanted to, you could go to a brand agency for it. I personally don't recommend it. It's max expensive. You're looking 6-figure amounts to help to have a brand agency develop this for you. But if you stay within that fundamental process, you may have to test and optimize, and you might not get it right first time, but you're going to be down the right track if you just stay within that kind of framework, I think.
Thanks so much, Jeff. I'm just going to take a question from Jordan Harris. He asks, how many products should one have for their product-specific niche site? Does anyone who has a product-specific niche site? It can be anyone in the room that can answer questions. Doesn't have to be just the speakers. So anyone can answer the question if you have an answer.
I'll just mention something real quick, and that is, it doesn't really matter. You can make a successful e-commerce site with one product. In fact, we teach a strategy called a single product drop shipping strategy. That's a different story though. But if you've got sort of, I would say a reasonably good starting point is maybe 50 products, just to get used to how the platform works and how everything works, okay? And then scale it up. 100 products, 200 products, okay? You can run a successful business with that sort of level of products. The biggest mistake you can make is buying look, there's some very good pre-built stores out there, but if you go and buy a pre-built store, like some of the ones Sylvester warned you about in the beginning of his presentation with some of this outdated technology out there. If you go and buy one of these, like an AliExpress pre-built store that's got 4,000 products on it, you know, don't think you're going to have a better chance of success because Takealot's got, you know, hundreds of thousands of products on, and so now at least you've got 4,000 and everyone else in the room's only got 200. That's the biggest misconception, the biggest mistake you can make. You know what a nightmare it is to try and manage 4,000 products, okay? You've got to make sure your pricing is always correct. You've got to make sure the stock availability is correct. You've got to make sure your API connection to your supplier is running correctly. You've got to make sure your images are right. And if all of that is not 100%, you're going to create such a bad customer experience that nobody's going to buy from you, all right? So my advice is start with something that's manageable. Make sure that your pricing is good and competitive, that your range is interesting, and that your product images, your titles, and your specs are really, really good. Remember, in the online space, the only thing that's doing the selling is your website. And whatever that listing looks like, whatever that product listing looks like, is gold. So that is more of a priority than how many products you have on the site. All right? My most successful site through Dropstore at the moment is there currently about 300 products on there. And I don't plan to list any more because the niche that I'm supplying in, there are 5 or 6 categories within that niche, and I've got a nice range of products within all of those categories. It's more than enough. All right, so I would say start with about 50, get used to how it works, try and scale that up to maybe 1 or 2 or 300, and then off you go. But even that's not the be all and end all. Let me just give you one more quick example. All right, if you sell a cake shop, all right, if you've got a little cake shop, and your mother bakes cakes all day, and you go and sell them online, right? You can have 5 products on that store. A wedding cake, a birthday cake, a christening cake, whatever cake, and just a cake for the hell of it. And you can make a successful business out of that with 5 products. Okay, so once again, more important is everything else and not the volume. This is about quality and not quantity, ultimately.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jeffrey. The next question is for Ayanda, and it's about inventory on Dropstore. The question is, how accurate are the inventory on hand? No, how accurate are the inventory on hand stock levels on Dropstore resellers? What happens if a supplier is out of stock and it shows that the stock is available? What actions will Dropstore take with such suppliers? So I guess she's asking about like how accurate are the stock levels on Dropstore based on what the supplier has on hand.
Thank you, Adewale. So we rely a lot on the suppliers' warehousing or warehouse management because we also integrate, we integrate with the supplier and we rely on their inventory management. So it does happen in the event where a product was in stock and no longer is in stock and it has been sold. So we're able to facilitate an immediate refund of that, or we are able to request from a supplier if they could possibly source that for that particular order. However, we cannot always be, how do I put it? We cannot always be certain, because as much as we'd like to believe that those numbers are correct, there are so many other factors that you have to put into consideration when it comes to the supplier side and their warehousing management. It might not always be up to scratch. But what we then do in that event is that if an order has been, if a product has been ordered and the supplier is unable to meet the order, they can then simply just cancel it and we will refund those items. And the supplier will then be also able to remove those items if they're unable to meet those. It is a bit of a tricky one, especially where you have the service level of the supplier concerned and you have the service levels of the reseller. We always try to mediate the best possible solution for both parties.
Can I maybe just add something else? Some advice that I think is really good and it's relevant to this conversation. Okay, like I've mentioned before, and many of us have mentioned before, Dropstore is this amazing platform. Okay, but there's only so much that Dropstore can do when it comes to controlling these things. And so what you'll find is, out of all these suppliers on the platform, there are a lot of really good ones, and there are a lot of excellent suppliers, okay? And the excellent suppliers are the ones that keep their inventory up to date, that give you competitive pricing, that have a good returns policy, and so on. And, you know, you've got to do some work here as well. You know, this isn't the Wale, Sylvester, Jeff, Ayanda, and Jeff show over here. Go and do some work yourself, you know. Go and list from a couple of suppliers. Place your first orders with a few of them, and then determine where you're getting the best service levels from. I think one of the most tricky things to get right, and I'll go back to what I was saying about your customer experience and the customer journey. One of the trickiest things to get right in the drop shipping space is that if you're buying from a lot of different suppliers and all of them have got different service levels, how do you provide a consistent service level to your own customers? Okay, now, if you're dealing with 5 suppliers and they all deliver within 3 to 5 days and they very seldom have stock out issues, then you don't have a problem. But if you're dealing with 50 suppliers and the service levels are all over the place, you know, then the same thing will you know, that'll translate into your customer service as well. Your customer service is going to be all over the place. So my advice is, when you're starting out, try a couple of different suppliers and be ready to deal with stock outs or problems with some of the less experienced suppliers or some of the less geared up suppliers. And within a very short period of time, you're going to end up with your top 3 or top 5 or top 10 suppliers where you know you're getting consistent levels from. Support those guys, all right? Support those guys through the Dropstore platform. Your end customer service is going to be better. And ultimately, whenever you do run into a problem, because you're pushing a bigger volume of business through those suppliers, if you've got a problem and you go and pop a service request on Dropstore, they're more likely to prioritize your service request and sort the customer out. So that's how I use the platform myself. You know, on the homeware site, I started off with 10 Dropstore suppliers. I'm down to 3, and I'll give them all of my business because they're all wonderful suppliers that deliver quickly, that have very, very up-to-date inventory on the platform, and that's ultimately what you want. All right, but I'm not going to do the work for you, and nor is the Dropstore team. Go and do it yourself. Test, trial, and figure out who your best suppliers are. But I guarantee you, they are on the platform. You've just got to go and find out which ones they are.
Thanks so much, Jeff. This next question is regarding live chat on your website. And the question is, how does automated chat, such as Mobile Monkey, compare with live chat in terms of result? So someone that's currently trying to decide whether they should have a bot replying versus automated chat. Oh, sorry, versus someone replying to the messages.
Yeah, so let me that's kind of my area of expertise. I think both. The real answer is both are really what you need. So having automated experiences through something like Mobile Monkey or maybe ManyChat's a really good one. It definitely has a place in terms of lead nurture, in terms of nurturing a really early form relationship. The downside of it is that people know that it's a bot. Before long, people will figure out that it's an automation, it's not an actual person, which can kind of break trust. But in terms of conversion, the reason that live chat really works so well is you can literally sell in their thing. So what you can do is, look, a lot of the platforms, but we use talk.to like pretty much exclusively, by the way. And the reason is just simply because of the insight that the platform will give you. So when somebody comes on and they open a chat, you can see where they are on your site, and you can see where they have been, what products have they looked at. So you can almost stay like one step ahead in that way. So what you really want to do is we advise our clients to get VAs and train them really well in terms of how to sell in live chat. So it's really about, I'm looking at this.
What's
like
VAs?
So VAs are virtual assistants. They're generally out of places like the Philippines and things like that. But there are some really, really good ones. You are going to pay a bit more money for a good VA, but you can also like, there's a lot of people that are looking to get into digital in South Africa that are prepared to pay their school fees, and they're prepared to put the work in on a lower salary in the beginning. And because it does get a little bit difficult to manage if you're doing it yourself. But in terms of, specifically in terms of conversion, physical live chat beats a bot every single time, hands down. It's not even a question, simply because a bot can't sell something, whereas you talking to a person, first of all, breeds trust, because they now realize that there is an actual person on the other side of the screen. And as South Africans, we pretty much trust nothing. So in South Africa, we're very much in the post-trust era. No one trusts anything. So just having that personal connection is a big thing. You laugh, but it's a thing. I promise you, it's a thing. But just by saying to somebody like, yes, we have stock. Yes, that's the price. This is how long your delivery lead time is going to be, and having that interpersonal communication will massively impact your conversion numbers, I think, in my experience anyway.
Okay, thanks so much, Jeff. I keep calling you Jeff. I call Jeff.
I've told you before. I'm the good-looking one, and he's the other one. Like, it's easy.
Okay, I'm really sorry about that. Okay. Someone asked, does Dropstore, this is going to be the second to last question, depending on how long it takes to answer. And the question is, does Dropstore host variable products that have multiple child variants, or does it only do simple products? I can answer this one. Dropstore does host products with multiple variants, child variants. Okay. I'm just going to try and see if I can get a question off of the live in the group from Jordan Harris. This one's probably going to go back to Jeffrey. Okay, which is, so if I find a product that could be a winning product, should I have a single product page and advertise that, and then build a brand from that product while keeping to the theme?
Okay, that's a very, very good question, and it's actually something that we train extensively on. So my advice is, you first got to decide, are you going to build a multi-product store or a single product store? If you're going to build a single product store with the right type of product, if you've got the right margins, you can create something quite successful. Often with single product stores, they work very well for hot off the press, trending products. Okay, so you're not going to be able to build an empire for the next 20 years selling fidget spinners, for instance. Okay, but single product stores work really, really well for trending products, especially if they're not available in South Africa. So if you want to do a single product store, and that's the only thing you're going to be doing in e-commerce, have a look what's trending. Go and sign up for. Go and look on the trending websites. There are loads of them out there. Sign up for Google Trends. Keep your eye on the pulse, and when one of those products is available through a local supplier, through Dropstore, be the first to sell that product. And as long as the margins are high enough, go and build a single product dropshipping store and sell that product. All right, but then how to use a single product store as part of a marketing strategy for a multi-product store, right? So something that you could do, marketing on Facebook is a really good way of buying an audience, of buying traffic, okay? But it's quite expensive. So something that you'll need to educate yourself about is, what are terms like CPL and CPA. CPL is cost per lead, CPA is cost per acquisition, and cost per acquisition is basically the cost of getting someone to buy, right? So think of it this way. If it costs you 10 Rand per visitor, you paid Facebook 10 Rand per visitor onto your website. If your conversion rate is 10%, then that means that one out of every 10 customers will buy from you, right? Which means that your cost 10 times 10 is 100. So your cost per acquisition is 100 Rand. Now, if you're going to sell a product where your margin is 100 Rand, then effectively you're breaking even on that sale, right? So if you can find a product, and it's very difficult to do that, often the CPAs from Facebook are higher than the profit you're going to make. And that's why only using a Facebook ad strategy, a Facebook paid ad strategy, is not an effective way to develop a profitable e-commerce store. But if you can find one or two products where there's enough margin and where that magic retail price point is sort of between 300 and 900 Rand, like I mentioned before, where the margin that you make, the net profits, after all your costs, after your transaction fees with your payment processor like PayFast, after all your fees, if that net profit is more or less the same as what you're paying Facebook, then you've got a winning product. Then what you do is you create a single page just with that one product on, and you drive as much traffic to that site as you can. And effectively what you're doing is you're buying customers, and it's costing you nothing. All right, so you create a self-liquidating offer. The profit that you make equals the cost of your advertising. If you do that, your advertising budget becomes irrelevant because it's self-funding, it's self-liquidating. And then what you do, but basically what the purpose of that is building a customer base, buying traffic, building a customer base. That's step one. Step two is to blow them away with service. I recently sold a product. It was a smartwatch through Dropstore, obviously, from a supplier that I highly rate and recommend. And it's one of the few technology providers that I use on Dropstore. And it's the only one I've ever had a problem with. This one order is the only one I ever had a problem with. And what happened was the suppliers in Cape Town, they delivered extremely quickly. The product was in Johannesburg, delivered to Krugersdorp within 2 days. I mean, that's unbelievable service. But the product got there and it was broken. It didn't work, okay? But I knew how important it was for me to give that customer an unbelievable experience, okay? So instead of waiting 3 weeks to go and do this whole returns process and everything like that, I bit the bullet. I ordered another one. I delivered it myself, and it cost me a lot of money. And actually, that entire transaction, by the time the customer had a working product, was at a huge loss. But I can tell you something now: that customer will not buy from anybody else except for me. All right? I may have lost money the first time, but I'll make money the second time. Right. So the same kind of principle applies to advertising and getting that first customer. Doesn't matter what it costs you. Give the person an unbelievable experience. Okay, so use a single product store. It's a great strategy. All right. Even if you lose a little bit of money on it, as long as you're providing an exceptional experience to the customer, you'll make money when they come back. All right. So it's a very, very good strategy. It's a very clever strategy. And for the people that are, one thing you've got to realize, everyone that's on this group, all right, you are sitting here with a panel of highly experienced people that are here for your success ultimately. All right, you've got the complete ecosystem here, right here in front of you, that you've got access to become successful. So please take all the advice that you've heard on this chat extremely seriously, because people pay ridiculous amounts of money for this advice, and you're getting it here for free. All right, so yes, single product store, great idea, but just be very careful about the product you select, and don't get too caught up and sidetracked by that you lose focus on your core business. Okay, but it is definitely a good part of a strategy to acquire new customers.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I think we have reached the end of the Dropstore Dropshipping Masterclass. I'd like to thank all the speakers. I'd like to thank every single person that joined us today on the live. But before we go, just want to let you guys know one last time where you can find Sylvester, Buti, and Jeff. You can find Sylvester. His website is dropshippingacademy.co.za. And if you want to contact Jeff, you can go to digitalcartel.com. Guys, before we go, I would just like us to take a selfie. Everyone that is in the room, can you please turn on your camera? I want to have a huge huge selfie moment with everyone that is still there. Okay. Everyone that's still there. All right. Sylvester, Sylvester asked to leave early because he has a family, because he has a daughter that he has to go fresh from school. So we're gonna excuse Sylvester. Guys, thank you so much once again for your time. Jeffrey, Sylvester, Ayanda, and thanks everyone for joining us. Okay, cheers guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.